On the day of the spirit artifact pact, I chose the Swona. The sect leader tried to dissuade me. Every sound cultivator has an ethereal air about them. Look at the Guqin before your junior sister. It would suit you perfectly. The Swona is just two. I wasn't having any of it in my past life. I formed a pact with a Guqin, but in the end, its heart belonged to my junior sister. Forced my way through the contract to assist my little junior sister when the beast tide struck, resulting in my death. Under the trampling of countless beasts, I can't let this happen again this time. 1. The Ethereal Sound Pavilion opens once every 3 years, allowing Foundation Establishment disciples to select their destined musical instrument as the senior sister and a naturally gifted disciple. I naturally get to choose first. The instruments housed within the Ethereal Sound Pavilion have been collected by our sect over tens of thousands of years. The most dazzling among them is undoubtedly the Guqin placed at the very center. Its body exudes a noble and elegant aura, an allure no cultivator of the musical arts could possibly resist. Little Shimmy 10, you couldn't resist stepping forward, wanting to gently touch the strings. Her fellow disciples quickly pulled her back. The ancient zither has developed its own consciousness and doesn't like being touched by just anyone unexpectedly. The ancient zither didn't seem displeased. Instead, it gently strummed its strings to show its affection for Tanyu. She had only just reached the Foundation Establishment stage the day before selecting her spiritual artifact, and despite warnings, she rushed to bind her life-bound instrument before her cultivation was stable. Choosing a spiritual artifact is like choosing your own wife. Naturally, only the strongest will win your favor. She looked at the ancient zither being held back, her face a picture of grievance as if someone had wronged her. So who gets to form a contract with Elder Guqin, senior sister? But Elder Guqin clearly likes me. She glared at me, her eyes full of fury, as if I were some villain tearing lovers apart. The sect leader cleared his throat and explained to her, you only reached the Foundation Establishment stage yesterday, and your cultivation is unstable. If you were to form a contract with Senior Guqin, it might harm both of you. Your senior sister, on the other hand, has a stable cultivation base and is exceptionally talented. It would be most suitable for her to form the contract. Unexpectedly, I walked up to Tanyu. She looked at me with reluctance and said, Senior sister, I truly admire Senior Guqin. His temperament matches mine perfectly. Could you please let me have this chance? The ancient zither also emitted resonant sounds, as if responding to the junior sister's words. The sect leader's face darkened, ready to reprimand her, but was stunned by my action. I walked past Tanyu and the Guqin, picked up the dust-covered Swona from the corner, and said to the sect leader, I like the Swona. Sect leader, I choose it to be my life-bound instrument. The sect leader stood up in shock. This is unacceptable. My fellow disciples tried to persuade me that Swona horn just doesn't fit the dignified aura of us sound cultivators. Senior sister, the Guqin would suit you much better. I wouldn't listen. I knew perfectly well that the ethereal-looking Guqin was practically useless too. In my past life, I heeded the sect leader's advice and refused my junior sister's request to form a pact with the ancient zither. It already possessed self-awareness. After our pact was formed, it was deeply resentful, refusing to fight or even cultivate alongside me. To consolidate our power to appease its temper, I traveled to the ends of the earth on missions, earning spirit stones for its maintenance. To rapidly increase my cultivation, I ventured into various secret realms, battling cultivators and demonic beasts alike, honing my strength through combat. This was because a spiritual artifact shares its master's cultivation base. The higher my cultivation, the sooner the artifact could nurture its own artifact spirit. Without the aid of my bonded instrument, I had to fight alone, resulting in numerous injuries. Yet, the ancient Qin seemed oblivious, never aiding in battle, merely floating ethereally in mid-air, watching me, a musician, engage in close combat with a horde of beasts. In the end, it absorbed all the spirit stones I earned, not leaving a single one. It took me 5 years to cultivate a spirit within the ancient Qin. Dressed in snow-white robes, with the ethereal form of the spirit faintly visible, he stood there like a celestial about to transcend. With a cold indifference on his face, he looked at me, his master, as if I were an insignificant ant, barely willing to speak to me. Only when the mission was completed and he received the spirit stones would he give me a hint of a kind expression. At the time, I thought perhaps it was just his nature, not fond of violence, so his coldness and pride didn't matter. Someday, he would come to understand, our hearts would be in sync, and we would fight side by side, facing those demons and monsters together. But one day, I saw him absorb the spirit stones, leave me, battered and bruised, and go to Tanyu, looking pristine and elegant, where they played music together in perfect harmony. I'm devastated. It's supposed to be my primary weapon, yet it never lets me play it in battle. Now it's playing with Utanue, a song with no combat power, just for entertainment. Does he even know he's a spiritual weapon, meant for fighting as a sound cultivator? I was about to dissolve our contract, but then a beast tide suddenly attacked. I commanded him to fight alongside me using the power of our contract. But he claimed there was danger near Tanyu and forcibly broke through the contract's restrictions to fly to my little junior sister's side to protect her. Left alone, I, a sound cultivator without my lifebound instrument, was swallowed by the beast tide. In my final moments of consciousness, I saw an unbound Swona spontaneously fly out and play a battle song, killing many beasts, but it was still no match and eventually drowned in the beast tide. Chapter 2-3 The sect leader urged me, "You are the senior sister of this generation, the most talented among them. Forming a bond with the ancient zither brings only benefits, no drawbacks. Moreover, the zither is incredibly elegant to use, which aligns perfectly with the temperament of a sound cultivator, but it has to be usable. That zither is nothing but a decorative vase, utterly useless." I spoke to the sect leader. What matters most in sound cultivation is not temperament, but the harmony between the master and their lifebound instrument, unleashing powerful destructive force. Since the zither favors the junior sister, let them be. I prefer the Swona. Utanua's excitement was palpable as she knelt before the sect leader. Sect leader, this Guqin resonates with me so perfectly. I beg for your blessing. After speaking, she glanced at me. I thought to myself that my senior sister's temperament was a perfect match for the Swona's character. It must be fate. Her sarcastic tone was obvious to everyone. Some of our fellow disciples couldn't hold back any longer and stepped forward to confront her. Don't act all innocent after getting such a sweet deal. If our senior sister hadn't insisted on giving it up, would that Guqin ever have come to you? You should be thanking your lucky stars that the head senior sister gifted you the contract. Guqin, how dare you still prance around here? Frankly, it wouldn't be too much for you to kowtow in gratitude. You're being utterly ungrateful. Junior sister. Utanua's face flushed with embarrassment. At that moment, the Guqin itself seemed to realize it was the subject of the scolding. It broke free from the stand and flew straight over, clearly showing its intention to back Tanyu. The atmosphere was a bit tense, so I broke the silence. Let's begin the pact. The sect leader couldn't refuse me, so he had everyone guard us. After dripping blood into the Swona, I stood ready. In my previous life, the ancient zither was dissatisfied with me as its master, and it took great effort to successfully form a pact with it. To my surprise, the Swona showed no resistance at all, but rather joyfully formed a pact with me, and it was done in an instant. A resonant sound of the Swona echoed in my consciousness, and I instantly felt a surge of battle intent, a courage that made me fearless even in the face of thousands of soldiers. I calmed my mind, opened my eyes, and put away the Swona, only to hear a heartbroken cry. Turning to look, I saw that Utanue had successfully formed a pact with the ancient zither, yet, the instrument suddenly grew dim and lifeless, unable even to levitate, and it plummeted to the ground. Utanua's cultivation also regressed, falling from the foundation establishment stage back to the 9th level of Qi. Refining. Wailing, Utanue cried out to the sect master, "Sect master, why has this happened?" I let out a cold, derisive snort. Didn't the sect leader already tell you? Your cultivation level is unstable, and forming a pact with a spiritual artifact could harm both you and the artifact. This is naturally due to your insufficient practice. Utanue couldn't accept this reality and ran out with the Guqin, probably to go back and practice, for I returned to my residence with the Swona before I could focus on studying it. The Swona was glossy black all over, with flecks of gold leaf scattered around the rim of its brass bell, making it look as if it were wearing a skirt. The instrument spirit couldn't be a little girl, could it? Sensing my thoughts, the Swona let out a fierce, deafening blast. As if venting its displeasure, I laughed and said, "Behave, I get it, you're a boy, you're going to deafen me." Only after he had calmed down did I pick him up and put him to my lips. In my past life, the Guqin never let me play a single tune. Now, with this Swona, my first instinct was to blow it and make it sing, without the slightest hindrance. The melody of 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix flowed from my mouth. The vibrant tune resounded throughout the entire sect. The penetrating power of the Swona is truly no joke. After I finished playing, I felt an incredible sense of clarity. Every meridian in my body felt cleansed, and spiritual energy surged into me like a torrent. To my astonishment, I broke through directly, advancing from the 6th layer of foundation establishment to the 7th. I hugged the Swona and gave it a kiss. This thing is my absolute lucky charm. I could feel it while playing. The connection was perfect. It more than doubled my cultivation speed. He actually flew up and hid in the box I prepared for him after I kissed him, refusing to come out. 5. The next day, I woke up feeling cold. I was startled when I opened my eyes. There's suddenly a shadowy figure in black with a faint translucency beside me. Ghost. I quickly back away, bewildered as to how such a thing ended up on my bed. He sensed my fear, raised his hand, and the swana from the box flew into his grasp. I watched in awe as he handled my soul-bound instrument with masterful ease, and the swana offered not a hint of resistance. It finally dawned on me. Are you the spirit of the swana? He floated upward, straightening his dark brocade robe, its hem adorned with a band of golden trim. I have a name. I am Qianqing. Just after the contract, it can produce a spirit. This swana is no ordinary spiritual artifact. Indeed, in its previous life, it could fight on its own without being contracted, against the beast tide. What kind of ordinary being could it be? I slapped my forehead. So, are you still going to play for me? Spirit artifacts are usually proud, and I'm afraid he's so powerful that he might not want to be controlled by me again. Unexpectedly, his face suddenly turned red, and he became flustered, no longer his usual composed self. Blow it. I immediately felt happy and didn't pay attention to his strange expression, just continued with my own cultivation, as expected of Qianqing. It's no ordinary spiritual artifact, it's exceptionally compatible with me. I even found quite a few cultivation techniques that suited me perfectly. My progress skyrocketed in no time, and the sect master was immensely pleased when he found out. Chapter 3:6. In the end, spiritual artifacts still require spirit stones for nourishment. After my breakthrough from the foundation establishment stage to the golden core stage, I took Qianqing down the mountain to undertake missions. I ran into Yutanue on the road, and she couldn't help but show off the moment she saw me. Senior sister, bet you didn't expect this. My cultivation has returned. I've achieved foundation establishment once again. Unlike the bonded instruments of others, which are carried on the back or held in hand, this guqin floats in the air and follows Yutanue on its own. It just isn't as radiant as before and doesn't look as magnificent. I replied with a smile. Congratulations, junior sister, you've reached the foundation establishment stage. Not like me. I'm already at the golden core stage. Her anger was plain to see, but with so many people around, she forced herself to hold it back. After a moment's thought, she tentatively asked, Senior sister, are you going on a mission to earn spirit stones for your magical artifact? I shot her a glance, giving her a look that said she was an idiot. She realized she had asked a stupid question. After all, she was here to complete a mission, and what else could it be for if not for the spirit stones? Yet, my gaze still hurt her, and she stopped beating around the bush, going straight to the point. Senior sister, could you share some of the spirit stones we earned from the mission with me? You know my spiritual power is weak, and the tasks to earn spirit stones are too dangerous. It takes a lot of spirit stones to nurture the Yuqing. Yuqing is the name of an ancient Qin, Chinese zither. Before I could say a word, Qianqing jumped out of the swana and started yelling at Yutanue. Are you out of your mind? You don't take care of your own wife, and you expect my Yan Yan to do it? My Yan Yan still has to take care of me. Yutanue stared at Qianqing in shock. You're a Qilin. How did you form so quickly? A hint of regret flashed in her eyes. Qianqing turned his head away, ignoring her. Isn't it embarrassing to say no? You don't take care of your own wife and expect me to foot the bill. I chuckled as I glanced at Guqin Yuqing. It seems that the little junior sister favored by senior Guqin is quite a handful when it comes to maintaining her wife. I wonder if it's because the junior sister lacks strength or if senior Guqin simply consumes too many spirit stones. Helping him dream on. There's no way he's getting a single spiritual stone from me in this lifetime. Yutanue, flustered and exasperated, said, Senior sister, as the eldest sister, isn't it your duty to help your junior brothers and sisters? Helping me nurture Yuqing so he can take shape sooner would also benefit the sect. I interrupted her. He's your spirit weapon, not mine. What good would nurturing a spirit weapon do for me? Are you brainwashed or something? Yutanue was so furious she saw stars, and stormed off with her ancient zither. Qianqing waited until they were all gone before he exploded, grabbing my hand and shouting at me. A musician's lifebound instrument is like a swordsman's sword. Both are considered wives. A person can only have one wife. You only need to support my wife, and it won't cost you much. You can afford it. I couldn't help but laugh at him and handed him a handful of spirit stones. Supporting just you is enough. Take them and use them. 7. The mission site was a small village ravaged by demonic beasts, delayed by Yutanue's pestering on the road. By the time I arrived, many were already engaged in battle with the beasts. Yutanue, with her guqin in hand, had arrived before me. Though Yutanue had only just established her foundation, the ancient zither floating beside her and her own dignified aura made her seem like a true master. The rogue cultivators looked upon her as if she were their savior. You're a sound cultivator from the profound sound sect, right? Please, save us. This demon beast is only at the 9th layer of foundation establishment. With this fairy maiden's power, a single strike from her would likely reduce it to ashes. Upon hearing that the demon beast's cultivation had reached the 9th level of foundation establishment, Utanue hesitated, her steps faltering. She turned her head to glance at the ethereal and majestic Yuqing, and her confidence surged instantly. Unable to bear the thought of the demon beast wreaking further havoc, I soared forward, ready to summon Qianqing for battle. The moment Utanue saw me, she grew wary, fearing I would steal her thunder, and actually stepped forward to stop me. Senior sister, the more effort you put in, the more spirit stones you get. Your Swona doesn't consume much spirit stone, so don't fight me for this little bit. After hearing that, I put away the Qianqing and gestured for you to go first since you want to humiliate yourself. I'll oblige. Chapter 4. With a wave of her hand, the ancient zither floated automatically in front of her. She slowly raised her hand to the strings, gently pressing down, and the unique sound of silk flowed out. The secluded beauty and the ancient zither with its faint white glow in front of her seemed like a beautiful painting. The scattered cultivators dispersed, leaving Utanue alone to face the beast. She paid no heed, her fingertips lightly lifting. A immortal's exercise emerged from her fingertips, though the sound was only slightly better than a saw cutting through wood. I was greatly puzzled, and even the untrained cultivators who knew nothing about music showed confusion. This is an introductory piece for the Guqin, focusing on finger techniques, yet even so, Tenyu played it haltingly. I couldn't take it anymore and confronted her in front of everyone. Junior sister, is the Guqin unwilling? How can you butcher even the immortal's tune like this? Utanue flushed crimson from my public questioning, secretly resenting me for embarrassing her. Senior sister, the Guqin is perfectly willing to be played by me. Can't you see the demon beast is completely stunned, frozen in place, not a word about how awful her own playing was. Perhaps the demon beast was simply stunned by the sheer cacophony. Thinking this, the demon beast endured the fragmented, discordant melody. It decisively raised a paw, clamped it over its ears, and roared at Utanue. The force of the roar sent her sprawling to the ground, where she coughed up a mouthful of blood, and one of the Guqin strings snapped. How could this be? Utanue stood there in a daze, holding the ancient zither, while the nearby rogue cultivators looked at her with utter disdain. Her music was so unbearable that even the beasts couldn't stand it. She coughed up blood at a single roar from a beast. How could this sound cultivator have no offensive power at all? I sneered inwardly. Yuqing is nothing but pretty. I knew that in my previous life when facing the beast tide, I only plucked the string once and immediately felt that Yuqing couldn't produce any attack effect. Afterward, he broke the contract to find Utanue, but I have no idea what purpose it served. Shall we play a funeral dirge together? The demon beast, feeling insulted by Utanue's music, flew into a frenzy, injuring the rogue cultivators one after another. I had no time to witness Utanue's sorry state. I took out the 1,000 stars and placed it in my mouth, as the Swona's piercing cry rang out. Waves of soul-stirring energy rippled outward. A golden core cultivator against a foundation establishment 9th stage beast, and with the 1,000 stars in my grasp, I slew the creature in mere moments. What should I do? I suddenly think playing the Swona is so cool. I want to join the music cultivators too, right? I used to think all music cultivators were ethereal and graceful, but after seeing this immortal maiden, I realized they can be this domineering too. I didn't hear the chatter from the rogue cultivators. After collecting the spirit stones, I returned to my sect. Once I settled Qianqing in, I immediately plunged back into my cultivation. The beast tide is a thorn in my side, and I need to prepare before it arrives. Before I could settle into a few days of peaceful cultivation, the sect leader urgently summoned me. When I arrived at the sect leader's peak, I saw Utanue kneeling on the ground. Utanue pleaded with the sect leader, "Sect leader, please help me. This ancient zither is useless in battle, and it costs a fortune in spirit stones to nurture it. Last time one of its strings broke, I spent all my savings and still couldn't find the materials to repair it. How can it continue to be my life-bound instrument?" The master frowned at her. "Last time you insisted on forming a pact with the ancient zither yourself, and now you want to abandon it. That's a major taboo in pacts. How ironic. Last time she knelt to beg the master to form a pact with the ancient zither, and this time she knelt for the same reason, but to dissolve the pact instead. The ancient zither was cast aside, its once vibrant body now covered in dust, and the sparkling aura of immortality was no more. The broken zither string from last time lay nearby, looking quite pitiful. The ancient zither trembled uncontrollably upon hearing Utanua's words. It's clear he was cursing quite profanely. Chapter 5:9 Utanua didn't even glance at him, only continuing to plead with the sect leader. Sect leader, I believe senior sister is more capable and better suited for the Guqin than I am. Why not give it to her? I held back Qianqing's urge to leap out and asked her with interest. Junior sister, one can only form a pact with one primary instrument. If you give the Guqin to me, what about my Qianqing? A flicker of smug delight flashed in Utanua's eyes. Senior sister's cultivation is so profound. Last time, you dispatched that Foundation Establishment 9th layer demon beast with effortless ease and earned a hefty sum of spirit stones. Nurturing a spiritual artifact like this ancient zither would be child's play for you. Such a magnificent and powerful instrument as this ancient zither naturally belongs to you, senior sister. I was wrong before to insist on competing with you for it. Now, I return it to its rightful owner. If you can nurture an artifact spirit from it, it would be another great service to our sect. As for Qianqing, well, his upkeep costs are minimal, which makes him perfectly suited for a junior sister like me. Someone with low spiritual power who doesn't earn many spirit stones. If he comes with me, I promise to treat him well. I sincerely hope you will grant me this, senior sister. The sect leader was utterly dumbfounded by her shameless display, his heart filled with disgust, and he was seriously considering expelling her from the sect. I released Qianqing, and he wore a deeply aggrieved expression. It was as if I were truly about to abandon him to form a contract with the ancient zither, and he was on the verge of tears. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I never said I agreed. Why are you making such a face? His expression finally cleared, and he looked at Utanua with a haughty gaze. The greed in Utanua's eyes sent a chill down his spine. I'm Yan Yan's wife. What are you, some nobody, to think you're worthy of making a pact with me? And that Guqin of yours, it's just a piece of junk. Yan Yan would never want it. Utanua, thoroughly humiliated by the remarks, went to plead with the sect leader again. Master, you've given all the good stuff to senior sister. Can't I even ask for a small swona? Luckily, the other disciples aren't here, or she'd definitely be spat on for acting like this. The master waved his sleeve, sweeping Utanua 3 meters away. Utanua, stop causing trouble. I already warned you last time at the Spirit Music Pavilion. You insisted on forming a pact with the Guqin, and your senior sister not only didn't blame you but also let you have the Guqin, instead of being grateful. You're now forcing your senior sister. Get out, and if it happens again, I'll expel you from the sect. You Tanue was thrown out the door. The sect leader clearly cherished spiritual artifacts. He used the finest materials to repair the ancient zither strings and returned it to Utanue. I wanted to say it was pointless, that old zither was truly useless, but after all, the sect had gone to great lengths to acquire it. The sect leader told me that the sect went to great lengths to retrieve the Guqin, which is why they were so intent on having me form a contract with it back then. Who would have thought that the swona I picked up casually would develop a spirit so early on? My luck really isn't bad. 10 In the following months, news about Utanue and the Guqin was frequently heard around the sect. For instance, the materials provided by the sect leader were so exceptional that the ancient zither actually developed a spirit of its own. Another example is the zither spirit, which, still resentful over Utanua's previous demand to sever their bond, refused to let her touch it again. Naturally, Utanue couldn't be bothered with the zither either, as having played it once, she knew full well it possessed not a shred of offensive power. A junior disciple came to warn me, saying he often saw Utanua lurking around my mountain peak and feared she was up to no good, urging me to be careful. I thanked him for the reminder, and the next day I waited at the mountain gate. Sure enough, I spotted her in the evening. She kept glancing inside, as if waiting for someone. Chapter 6 Then I heard a series of clattering sounds coming from the room. I immediately went back and pushed the door open to take a look. Yuqing's figure was pinned down by Qianqing's figure, struggling relentlessly. Yin Yin, you're back. This guy suddenly burst in, insisting on taking my box. The box was prepared long ago for my life-bound instrument. Since I didn't know what my spiritual artifact would be, I requested it to be made in a size that could adjust, allowing it to transform into the most suitable dimensions. For my spiritual artifact in my past life, I gave it to Yuqing, but he was extremely reluctant. However, he didn't want to be carried by me, nor did he want to float by my side, so he had no choice but to use it in this life. I gave it to Qianqing, and he loves it dearly. As soon as he returns, he wants to stay in the box and doesn't want to go anywhere else. Yuqing's eyes were bloodshot. That's mine. Qianqing punched him. You're lying. Yan Yan prepared this for me. I narrowed my eyes slightly. You Qing had also been reborn. Did Tanyu not even prepare a box for you? Are you here to steal the gift I intended for my wife? Yu Qing glared at me. Why did you give me up to her? What kind of hellish joke is this? You chose Tanyu yourself, and I merely followed your wishes. How dare you turn around and question me? Qianqing grabbed him and threw him out of the mountain gate. Go be with your precious Yutenyu. And stay away from my Yan Yan. I looked outside and saw Yutenyu pointing at Yuqing's nose, scolding him. Yuqing, on the other hand, kept his head down and said nothing. Qianqing hugged me from behind, covering my eyes. Why are you still looking? Are you involved with him? I laughed and pushed him away. Watch your language. What do you mean, have a thing going on? There's nothing between him and me. Only then did Qianqing, grumbling under her breath, return to her box to absorb the spirit stones. 11 In the blink of an eye, a year passed, and the day of the beast tide drew ever closer. Although I've advanced from the golden core to the nascent soul, and Qianqing's cultivation has also improved significantly, I still feel uneasy. I want to inform the sect master about the beast tide so he can prepare in advance, but no matter how I try to speak, it's as if my words are blocked. The sect master can't hear anything related. I can only give up and work even harder on my cultivation, even startling Qianqing in the process. Yan, what's wrong? You're pushing yourself too hard with this training. Your body can't take it, don't you think I know that? But I have to get stronger. Only then can I save more lives when the beast tide comes. I'm not just grinding myself into the ground, I'm dragging Qianqing into it too. I gave him almost all my savings to absorb. I've been working him so hard he doesn't even want to come near me anymore. A major incident occurred within the sect. Yu Tanue was expelled from the sect. It was only after she was expelled that I learned she had set the music score tower on fire. I went to the music score tower to check the situation. The melody pavilion was nearly half burned down. The sect leader actually spared Yu Tanue's life, still showing mercy. I suppose Qianqing came with me. The moment we arrived at the melody pavilion, he popped out and started looking around everywhere. Something feels off. I had looked all around and couldn't spot anything wrong. When Qianqing said that, I looked at him, puzzled. Qianqing drifted over, took my hand, and led me to a bookshelf. Look, this bookshelf wasn't touched by the fire. The rescue team likely wouldn't have bothered with it, so books left here this long should be covered in dust. True, a simple cleaning spell would handle it, but with so few visitors, the melody score pavilion has been rather neglected. But these shelves are completely dust-free, and they look a bit messy, as if someone has been searching for something. I tapped Qianqing's head, who knew you had a knack for detective work. He pouted with an air of proud defiance. Of course, I'm your one and only. If I had to guess, Yu Tanue was searching for a musical score. She must have found it, which is why she set the music score pavilion on fire, to get herself expelled from the sect on purpose. What on earth is she looking for? According to the sect leader, after his last warning to Yu Tanue, not only did she not rein herself in, she actually doubled down. She went to your junior brothers to demand spirit stones. The sect leader's disgust was practically palpable. Once a Guqin develops a spirit, it requires a greater quantity of spiritual stones for its nourishment, and they all need to be of the highest grade. Instead of completing her own missions, Yu Tanue set her sights on her fellow disciples. She told me to give her a gift, claiming that as her junior sister, I, as her senior brother, ought to give her presents from time to time. The disciples who had entered the sect before Yu Tanue couldn't help but look utterly bewildered. Senior sister Yu Tanue says she's so broke she can't even afford food. As her junior brother, I should help her, but help her, I can't even afford my own spirit stones. The newly admitted junior brothers are making a ruckus. The fellow disciples were so annoyed by her that after reporting to the master threw her, along with her ancient zither, into the music pavilion. That's where errant disciples are confined. The place was filled with musical scores and books, and since the building was dark and suitable for storing books, it was repurposed to detain disciples. I found this situation a bit odd. I knew Tenyu had thick skin, but I never expected Yu Qing to join her in such antics. This incident severely tarnished his ethereal image, yet he didn't stop it. He didn't stop her at all. Although he seemed to disapprove of Tenyu's actions, he didn't intervene. Instead, he just floated to the side and nodded. When Tenyu was about to be expelled from the sect, I thought about how he was painstakingly collected by the elders and offered to release him from his contract and find him a new master. Surprisingly, he refused and insisted on going with her. The sect leader was also feeling the pressure. A month after Yu Tenyu entered the building, he set the Inpu Tower on fire. If it weren't for the quick reaction of the disciples guarding the tower, not a single musical score would have been saved. The sect leader was furious upon learning the news and severely injured Yu Tanue, expelling her from the sect. I feel even more Suspicious now. Yu Qing's previous behavior clearly showed dissatisfaction with Yu Tianyu, yet now she is unexpectedly following her. It's quite surprising, but since everyone has left, I have no way of finding out the truth. Chapter 7:12. Another period of time passed, and the beast tide is less than 10 days away. I couldn't calm down to practice, so I went to the Silent Moon Forest outside the sect early. Qianqing floated beside me and asked, "Why are you here? There's no mission here." I shook my head and didn't answer him. The beast tide in my previous life began here originally. It was just a small-scale migration of demon beasts, and everyone thought so, but unexpectedly, the number of demon beasts increased, forming a beast tide. As Xianin sect is right next to Guf Forest, it naturally bore the brunt. This time I came to see why a beast tide was triggered. Someone's here. Qianqing instantly became alert, and I quickly hid myself. The Silent Moon Forest is full of danger. No one would come here without a mission, and during this time, there were no related tasks. It's that woman. Qianqing whispered in my ear that the woman he was referring to was Tanyu. Yu Qing also took human form and floated beside her. They didn't notice me. And Qianqing, is this melody really effective? You can't muster any offensive power at all. Are you sure this beast-luring melody isn't useless too? I practiced it until it's second nature. If you fail to deliver when the time comes, all this effort will have been for nothing. Yu Qing's gaze was gloomy, though he still carried an air of celestial grace. It was inexplicably tinged with a hint of malevolence. Don't worry, I will definitely make the beast-luring melody work. The beast-summoning melody. So this must be what Yu Tianyu was looking for in the music score pavilion. She started the fire to cover up stealing the score. I've never heard of this tune, but just from the name, it's clearly meant to attract demonic beasts. It hasn't been that long, but Yu Tianyu has already reached the nascent soul stage. It took her years of cultivation just to reach the 9th level of foundation building. Yu Qing has also become much stronger than before, as evident from her aura. Me and Qianqing exchanged a glance and quietly followed behind. 13. Alright, absorb it. Yu Qing is actually absorbing the beast's core. Spiritual artifacts typically only absorb spirit stones because their spiritual energy is pure. However, although a beast's core contains a great deal of spiritual power, it also holds many impurities. This is extremely dangerous for a spiritual artifact. The slightest misstep could lead to a deviation or chi deviation, but Yu Qing clearly didn't care about that much. He must have absorbed a lot of inner elixirs during this time, forcibly boosting Yu Tianyu's cultivation to the nascent soul stage by sharing his own cultivation. I saw the two of them scattering beast-attracting powder everywhere, then using spells to trap a group of demons. That's the technique of a demon cultivator. In the end, they actually arrived at a campsite, just as I had predicted. Back, how did things go? Yu Tianyu smiled faintly. Don't worry, it will be done in 5 more days. The demonic cultivator leader yanked her over, hooked his finger under her chin, his eyes full of excitement. Ha ha ha, good, this beast tide I triggered. I will destroy the Xianin sect. And this is just my first trophy. Yu Tianyu nestled coquettishly in the arms of the evil cultivator, while Yu Qing beside her smirked with disdain. My heart was pounding in fear. So the beast tide was the evil cultivator's scheme. I slowly backed away with Qianqing, intent on returning to report to the sect leader. Who's there? The dark cultivator's power far surpassed my own. A single surge of their oppressive aura nearly brought me to my knees. Qianqing, who was beside me, scooped me up onto his back, astonishingly unaffected. He swiftly turned and sprinted back the way we came. By the time the dark cultivator arrived, we were already long gone. 14. 3 days later, in the Silent Moon Forest, gazing down at the beast tide below, the sect leader, elders, and all the disciples fought with all their might against the monstrous horde and the evil cultivators. Qianqing and I also faced off against Yu Tianyu and Yu Qing. She smirked wickedly. Senior sister, I've already reached the nascent soul stage. If you beg for mercy now, I might spare your life. Where do you get this confidence? Before, you thought I should let you and help you. And now that you've reached the nascent soul stage through dubious means, you think I can't beat you. I truly admire your mental state. I stood opposite her, unafraid. Yu Qing stood to the side, gazing at me affectionately. Don't worry, I won't let her kill you. Once I catch you, I'll break the contract with her and swear allegiance to you as my master. This time, I won't miss you again. I felt like throwing up because of him, but Qianqing immediately took my hand and interlocked our fingers. Yu Qing across from us was so furious at this scene that her eyes turned red. Yu Tianyu rolled her eyes, and judging by her lips, she probably muttered under her breath, "Love-struck idiot." 15. The Guqin floated before Yu Tianyu. She and Yu Qing stepped forward simultaneously, their hands moving in perfect unison for a duet. As soon as the beast-luring melody began, the demonic beasts charged towards us without a second thought. Not a trace of clarity remained in their eyes. They were utterly consumed by frenzy. It was as if I had been thrown back into the agony of my past life, crushed beneath the onslaught of those very beasts. Before I could sink into nostalgia, a loud Swona call brought me back. In this life, I no longer fight alone. I picked up the Swona and put it to my lips, and the myriad stars merged with me as one. Tick-tock, the sound of the Swona pierced through the surging horde of demons and beasts, reaching Tanyu's presence in an instant. Her beast calling melody shattered into fragments wherever the Swona's sound reached. Humans, beasts, and demons alike were invigorated, and my Swona horn began to glow with a shimmering golden light, a divine artifact. The Swona in Yenner's hands is a divine artifact, the sect master shouted in alarm, and the crowd turned to look in his direction. They saw me standing amidst the horde of demonic beasts, yet none could get close. The sound of the Swona seemed to ripple through the air. The ancient chain string snapped again, breaking in half. Tanue was trampled to death by a demon beast. 16. With my Swona's commanding presence holding the entire scene in check, the sect leader and elders seized the moment to vanquish the evil cultivator. All that remained was to pacify the rampaging demon beasts. The disciples brought forth their life-bound instruments and played the tranquilizing melody, gradually calming all the demon beasts with the music. There, don't be afraid, the bad guy has been driven away. The beast tide was successfully broken, and life returned to tranquility. 17. Qianxing always asks me, why did you look at that broken instrument one last time? Were you thinking of forming a pact with it? I pulled him close by the waist. How could that be? You're my one and only wife, and the only one I'll ever want. Qianxing flushed from her neck to the roots of her hair and hugged me back. Me too. The end. Story 2. In the 3rd year of our marriage, I first showed my displeasure to Lu Ming. The reason was that the cleaning ant found a lipstick in his study. However, his study was never allowed for me to enter. I held the lipstick and demanded an explanation from him. He said offhandedly, the new intern must have accidentally left it here when they dropped off the documents last time. I said nothing. Lu Ming suddenly flared up. I've already explained myself. Who are you making that sour face for? If you don't believe me, then let's just get a divorce. I nodded and, to his stunned expression, produced the divorce papers. As the cleaning ant was about to leave in the evening, she pulled out a lipstick from her pocket. Xiao Qing, you left your lipstick in the study. I placed it on the desk for you. The packaging looks expensive, so don't just throw it around. I was watching a drama and was stunned, instinctively wanting to say it couldn't be, but the lipstick was indeed real. The cleaning lady comes to our house every afternoon to clean for 4 hours. Therefore, she doesn't know that Lu Ming's study has never allowed me to stay inside for long. Even though I'm his wife, even if I go in to deliver some fruit or milk, I'm kicked out, let alone leaving any personal belongings behind. I picked up the lipstick and glanced at it, a bold, vibrant rose red. It's never been my style. After the cleaning lady left, I sat alone on the sofa for a long time. The TV was still playing some melodramatic drama, but I couldn't focus on a single word. After a long hesitation, I finally opened the home surveillance feed. Lu Ming's study has its own separate monitoring system, which I can't access, but I could still tell who had been here from the footage in the living room. I scrolled through the recordings and quickly found the day I went back to my parents' house. The front door opened. Lu Ming entered first, stepping aside, followed by a petite young woman. Your home is beautifully decorated. Her voice was sweet and cheerful, like a happy little bird. Lu Ming didn't answer her question but asked, why are you home so early today? Aren't you afraid of getting scolded by your manager? The girl laughed, leaning softly against his shoulder and cooing, with you backing me up, who would dare to say anything to me? This scene deeply pierced my eyes. During my senior year, I interned at Lu Ming's company. At that time, we had just confirmed our relationship not long ago. At noon, I specially prepared a love lunch for him and delivered it when no one was around. Who knew that as soon as he stepped into the office, he frowned. In the future at the company, we need to keep our distance and maintain only a superior-subordinate relationship. I was upset by his coldness and spent a gloomy afternoon in the office. After returning home, he held me and comforted me. After all, I'm the chairman of the company. If people see me pulling strings to get my wife a job here, it could undermine my authority and make it harder to manage in the future. And what am I supposed to say when other employees want to bring in their own distant relatives? How do I turn them down? I wanted to argue back, to tell him I didn't use any backdoor connections. I got in on my own merits through the interview process, but seeing how exhausted he looked, I held my tongue. Not long after, I quit my job and, under Lu Ming's persuasion, decided to stay home as a housewife. It was only when that girl boldly said, "You've got my back," that I realized. It turned out that the only relationship he didn't want others to know about was ours. Lu Ming took out a lot of snacks from the fridge and went into the study with Qin Huan, probably because I wasn't home. He left the study door open. He sat at the computer working, while Qin Huan lay on the sofa eating the snacks he had given her. When she bit into the yogurt, some of it splattered onto the blanket. Qin Huan stuck out her tongue. Sorry, I got the rug dirty. Lu Ming sat at the far end of the study, and the surveillance in the living room couldn't pick up what he was saying. All that could be seen was Qin Huan smiling sweetly, likely saying something like she didn't mind. When they came out of the study, Lu Ming even thoughtfully wiped the crumbs from the corner of Qin Huan's mouth, asking affectionately, after eating all that snack food, are you still going to be able to eat when I take you out for French cuisine later? Of course, Qin Huan laughed, wrapping her arms around Lu Ming's. With the slam of a heavy door, the world fell silent once more. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I closed the video. I had always thought Lu Ming was a naturally aloof person. When the new house was first renovated, he personally chose all the furniture for the study. I especially love that sofa in the study. It's so soft and light to lie on, so I took the opportunity to lie on the study sofa and scroll through my phone while he was taking a shower, with a bag of prawn chips in hand. The look he gave me when he came in is something I'll never forget. It's disgust, aversion. Who let you in, didn't I say this is my private space? The scent on you mixed with the smell of snacks is really unpleasant. I looked up in shock. I didn't spray perfume today, and this prawn chip smell is very faint. Before I could finish speaking, he cut me off coldly. Get out. That night, Lu Ming slept in the study and I cried all night in the bedroom afterwards. I comforted myself with my eyes swollen like walnuts. Perhaps Lu Ming has severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, and his study is his own spiritual world, which is why he doesn't allow anyone to intrude casually. But now, not only does he allow a girl to lie on his sofa eating and binge-watching dramas, he even personally hands her the snacks. Everything I once comforted myself with now seems like a joke. There are no principles or obsessions. It's just because I'm not his favorite. I sat alone in the living room for a long time. It wasn't until it got dark that I turned on the computer and printed out the already drafted marriage agreement. In fact, I drafted this agreement 3 months ago, but I never actually brought it up. I'm very good at comforting myself, always making excuses for Lu Ming, because he was the person I had a crush on for a full 4 years in college. Back in college, Lu Ming was different from other rich kids. He was an exceptionally outstanding student, often representing our school in various competitions. I would always see him shining on stage at all those competitions, wishing for just a moment that his gaze would land on me. That's when my secret crush began. Later, he started dating the most popular girl in our department, but it didn't last long. After graduating from university, the department flower insisted on pursuing a career in the entertainment industry. Mrs. Lu firmly refused to allow her daughter-in-law to be in the public eye, and the two were thus separated. Lu Ming, utterly disheartened, chose me recklessly as a form of revenge against Mrs. Lu. I always thought that as long as I played the role of a virtuous wife and loving mother, I would eventually see the ice melt. But I warmed up for 3 full years, yet the iceberg never melted. But with Qin Huan, from the day she appeared, my sixth sense sounded the alarm. She is the same kind of person as the department flower, just as dazzling and passionate. I first heard Qin Huan's name 3 months ago. Qin Huan was hired as an exception. Within 3 days of starting, she already had Lu Ming's contact information. I secretly took a look at their chat history. Despite being just an intern, Qin Huan showed no fear towards the general manager, not only boldly complaining about the issues she encounters at work, but also frequently sharing her favorite snacks and popular shops with Lu Ming. Lu Ming also carefully remembers her favorite flavors. These privileges I have never experienced before. When you truly like someone, she becomes your exception. Lu Ming, a man so dedicated to his work, would still patiently comfort Qin Huan after she made a mess, take her out for good food to lift her spirits, and even put in a word with her direct supervisor. Whenever he exchanged messages with Qin Huan, a smile would tug irresistibly at the corners of his mouth. He started coming home later and later. On the rare occasions he came home early, he would be glued to his phone, typing away non-stop, with a telltale smile playing on his lips and in the corners of his eyes. It was like the way I eagerly awaited his messages during college. When I tried to express my dissatisfaction with him, he shot back, "We're just ordinary superior-subordinate relationship. Do you think everyone is as devious as you?" That statement cut off all my words. Now, looking back, his brazen hurtfulness was only because he knew I loved him, and now, I want to take back this love. When I showed Lu Ming the lipstick, he looked thoroughly annoyed. It's that new intern. She came to deliver documents at home the other day and accidentally left the lipstick on the sofa. Just throw it away. What a lame excuse. Who would leave lipstick on the sofa while delivering documents? I didn't speak, pondering how to retrieve the divorce agreement without it seeming awkward. Seeing my silence, Lu Ming suddenly became furious. I've already explained it to you, and yet you're still putting on that deadpan expression for who? If you don't believe me, then let's get a divorce. I nodded. That's perfect. I took out the divorce agreement under his stunned expression. Take a look at the property division. Is there anything to discuss? I don't want anything else. I just want this house. The 5% of the company's shares you had when we got married, just cash them out for me later. Lu Ming was momentarily stunned, quickly replaced by a look of disdain, threatening me with divorce. Zhao Qing, when did you learn this game of playing hard to get? You live in luxury at home every day. Do you really think you can still live such a good life without me? I clenched the divorce agreement in my hand. I live in luxury at home. Do you really think all the housework is done by some magical maiden? Lu Ming, what exactly are you looking down on? It was you who persuaded me to quit my job and stay at home. Why do you look down on me just because I'm a full-time homemaker? Lu Ming was genuinely surprised over these 3 years of marriage. I've always presented myself as gentle and obedient in front of him, so much so that he forgot I once stood out at work with my intelligence and quick wit. I could rise to the position of team leader in just 3 months without any backing. And when I no longer loved him, I could strike as sharp as a blade. Lu Ming couldn't argue back, so he resorted to anger to hide his insecurity. Zhao Qing, I think you're just bored. I looked into his eyes. I've had enough of this life. Sign the divorce papers. It's best for both of us. Lu Ming stared at me intently for a long time, as if trying to find any trace of jest on my face. After a while, he finally gave up. Irritated, he snatched the divorce agreement and signed it. Then, glaring at me with clenched teeth, are you satisfied now? My hand trembled slightly as I took the divorce agreement. When I look at Lu Ming, there is only infinite sorrow in my eyes. This is the man I once deeply loved. The closer someone is to you, the better they know how to hurt you the most. In this relationship with Lu Ming, I have also once brought up the idea of divorce like a child starved for attention, desperately needing a reason to be noticed. Yet, in the end, I'm always the one who gives in. But this time, I won't be the one to make peace. I put away the divorce papers and said calmly, let's go. Lu Ming frowned. Where to? Divorce at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Lu Ming opened his mouth, about to blurt out some sarcastic remarks, but when he realized I was serious, his expression turned grave. Zhao Qing, you're not going to let this go. Do you really think you deserve the life you have now just because people call you Mrs. Lu? Well, I don't deserve it, so I'm giving it back to you. Stop talking. The Civil Affairs office is about to close. I grabbed my bag and went downstairs first, not wanting to say another word to him. Do you really think being Mrs. Lu is such a coveted position? I only agreed to be Mrs. Lu because I loved him. Now that I no longer love him, I shouldn't be trapped by the title of Mrs. Lu. When we arrived at the Civil Affairs office, the staff kept urging us to reconsider. Seeing the terrible expressions on both mine and Lu Ming's faces, they finally stopped talking. You can only get the divorce certificate after the mandatory cooling-off period ends. I stormed out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, seething with anger, only to realize it had started raining. Lu Ming was holding an umbrella. He opened the car door and gave me a cool, detached glance. He seemed to be waiting for me to beg for mercy so he could magnanimously offer me a ride. I simply ran into the storm, walking in the opposite direction from him, drenched in the rain. Zhao Qing, you'll regret this. Even if you beg me like a dog in tears in the future, I won't look back. I shrugged, enjoying the cleansing rain, and said nothing. The sound of a car door slamming shut came from behind, followed by the angry roar of an engine. From then on, we went our separate ways for good. It wasn't until I got home and started packing that I realized I'd barely bought anything in the 2 years since I got married. I used to be so into fashion. After he got drunk, he said that no matter how I dressed up, I'd never compare to the most popular girl in our department. I haven't even bought new clothes in ages. All my belongings could fit into a single suitcase and a backpack. I moved into a hotel that very night. I can take my time finding a new place, but I couldn't stand living with him for another day. I thought I'd be up all night on my first evening away from home, but as soon as my head hit the hotel pillow, I felt drowsy. The agony and restless tossing and turning I had braced for never came. Instead, I felt a sense of relief I'd never known before. Any feelings I had for him had long since vanished, worn away by his repeated coldness and scorn. What I can't let go of is nothing but my own obsession. I slept straight through till noon, and when I woke up, my phone showed over a dozen missed calls, rubbing my eyes. I opened the call log. Every single one was from that Mrs. Lu. Mrs. Lu dislikes me, just as she dislikes the department beauty. But unlike the campus belle, I am her legitimate daughter-in-law, so she had even more reason to give me a hard time because I didn't answer the phone. Mrs. Lu bombarded me with a string of voice messages. When I played them, her displeased voice came through. Xiaoqing, why didn't you pick up the phone? I'm not saying this to criticize you, but since you're not working and have nothing to do at home every day, you shouldn't be sleeping in all the time. Get up and move around more. It will help with getting pregnant. Remember to remind Lu Ming to go back to his hometown next week to celebrate Grandpa's birthday. You should drive then. Lu Ming works so hard every day, and it's a 4 or 5 hour drive back. He can't handle that kind of fatigue. You've been enjoying your leisure at home, so it's no big deal to take on this task occasionally. After listening to these voice messages, I gave a sarcastic smile. Mrs. Lu has always been like this. Her seemingly affectionate tone is actually laced with put-downs aimed at me. Back when they convinced me to quit my job to take care of Lu Ming at home, she and her son were in perfect sync, playing good cop, bad cop. No sooner had I resigned than they hired a maid whose sole duty was to clean the study. They left all the cleaning, laundry, and cooking to me alone. You don't realize how exhausting it is to clean a 3-bedroom, 2-living-room apartment until you actually become a housewife. Now that I'm divorced from Lu Ming, I don't bother being polite to Mrs. Lu anymore. Auntie, if you think I'm living a life of leisure at home, why don't you try firing your own housekeeper? From now on, you can call Lu Ming directly about his affairs. Don't contact me. Lu Ming's mother quickly sent another long voice message. It was just the usual yelling and screaming, calling me rude and uncultured, that sort of thing. I fired back instantly. I'm divorced from your son, you old hag. Don't make me slap you. She doesn't act like an elder should, yet she constantly throws her seniority in my face. I've been sick of her for a long time. Sure enough, that evening, my parents called. I hadn't told them about the divorce yet, to spare them the worry, but now that the cat's out of the bag, I just have to face the music. Mrs. Lu had called my parents over, and we all sat around the sofa, making small talk over tea. As I opened the door and walked in, Mrs. Lu greeted me warmly, as if the unpleasantness from earlier that morning had never happened. That's just how she is, always putting on one face in front of people and another behind their backs. Xiaoqing's back. Oh dear, I always say there's no such thing as a grudge that lasts overnight between a husband and wife. Xiaoqing staying at home all day with nothing to do, it's just too boring. That's why she gets upset with Lu Ming. It's good to stay out for a while. Once the anger fades, she can come home. Young people throwing tantrums just don't know when to stop. Your parents are already in their senior years, yet you still trouble them to run back and forth for you. It's really not appropriate. This statement sounds polite on the surface, but it's actually accusing me of being immature. Whenever I throw a fit, it causes everyone else to worry. I've heard this kind of talk more times than I can count, but out of respect for her being Lu Ming's mother, I swallowed my grievances and kept them to myself. Lu Ming has never once stood up for me. If he had shown even the slightest intention of defending me over these 3 years, I wouldn't have become so utterly disheartened right now. Lu Ming is sitting upright on the sofa, still expecting me to apologize and back down to his mother as usual. That's pure daydreaming. Mrs. Lu always thought her son was a treasure, and anyone marrying him was getting the better end of the deal. When we got married, she made me feel uncomfortable at the wedding. Not only did she refuse to drink the tea I offered for half a day, but she also constantly belittled me during the speech, repeatedly emphasizing Lu Ming's hardships. Not a word about how I came to an unfamiliar city for Lu Ming, all alone, with no family or friends to rely on. During the early days of our marriage, Lu Ming wasn't completely indifferent to me. We had even planned to go to Norway to see the aurora for our honeymoon. After Mrs. Lu found out about this, she kept saying, "What's so great about Norway? It's so cold there." She insisted on changing our honeymoon destination to a city she wanted to visit. After we got married, I brought home the cat I had raised for years. Mrs. Lu kept complaining about her cat allergy and, when I wasn't looking, gave the cat away. When I confronted her, she put on an act of being deeply wronged. I'm getting old, and my allergies are really unbearable, but I'm allergic to mangoes. So why does she keep putting fresh ones on the table every day? These little things add up, making me increasingly frustrated. It feels like I have nowhere to vent my anger. I complained to Lu Ming a few times. At first, Lu Ming would just tell me to endure it. Over time, he only sided with his mother. My mother worked hard to raise me, so why can't you be more patient and tolerant with elders? Why are you so petty? I was utterly wronged. He completely disregards my feelings because he knows that no matter how much his mom acts up, I won't leave him. It was then that our hard-won relationship completely fell apart, never to be rebuilt. as he repeatedly avoided conflicts between his wife and mother or sided directly with his mother. I really couldn't stand Mrs. Lu's sarcastic attitude, so I retorted, if you hadn't meddled and called my parents, they wouldn't have had to worry about this. Mrs. Lu was stunned for a moment, and I didn't give her a chance to speak. All you do is nag about me not working at home. You've forgotten how you urged me not to work back then. When I was at Lu Ming's company, I helped him secure several crucial contracts. Could the company be where it is today without me? Back then, I had already risen to the position of manager at Lu Ming's company, earning $40,000 a month. Later, I quit and stayed home doing laundry and mopping floors. Every day, no matter how late Lu Ming came home from entertaining clients, there was always hot food to eat and warm soup to drink. Yet, he only gave me $5,000 a month. To be frank, even a random housekeeper would earn more than that. Hearing you talk, it sounds like I'm the one who owes your family a huge favor. I was about to continue, but Lu Ming got anxious. Zhao Qing, that's my mother. Please speak to her with respect. I glared at Lu Ming, then snatched the cup off the table and smashed it onto the floor. Water splattered everywhere. My eyes red with fury. I spat out venomously. So now you understand respect. All those years your mother disrespected me, and you were like a cowardly turtle, too scared to utter a single word in my defense. To put it nicely, she's an elder. To put it bluntly, any random stranger off the street would have treated me with more kindness. I used to call her mom out of respect for you, but now that we're divorced, she still thinks she can control me. Let me tell you, that's never going to happen, you useless coward, always bossing me around and making me compromise. Has your mother ever done anything decent in all these years? By the end, my hands were shaking uncontrollably as if I was finally letting out all the grievance I bottled up for years. My mom was scared seeing me in such a state. They too hurried over with red-rimmed eyes to comfort me. I've always been the type to share the good news and bottle up the bad. If I hadn't let it all out today, they probably had no idea just how much I'd been suffering in this relationship. Lu Ming fell silent once more, but this time, his face no longer showed impatience. It was instead a mix of many complex emotions. I even caught a glimpse of a barely perceptible hint of guilt in his eyes. Sadly, it was all too late. Mrs. Lu stepped in at that moment to smooth things over. Zhao Qing, those were all trivial matters. I never imagined you'd hold a grudge for so many years. I always knew you were a sensitive child, but I've always thought of you as my own daughter. My mother held me in her arms after today's scene. She finally saw Mrs. Lu for who she really is. I was already an emotional wreck, and yet Mrs. Lu kept making veiled remarks about me holding grudges. She wiped away her tears and glared fiercely at Mrs. Lu. Get out. Mrs. Lu gave an awkward smile. In-laws, how could you do this? My dad waved his hand. Go, go, go. Who are you to call us in-laws? Zhao Qing has already divorced your son. We can't afford to be connected to your family. After saying that, our family was about to leave, but Lu Ming hurried forward to explain. Mom, Dad, it's not like that. Listen to me. My mom slapped Lu Ming across the face. Mrs. Lu was frantic and instinctively tried to come over to tear at my mom, but my dad stood like a mountain in front of us. Her outstretched hand withdrew awkwardly with tears in her eyes. My mother spoke, each word heavy with meaning. I never agreed to Zhao Qing marrying you in the first place. She's my only daughter. To make sure she could hold her head high in your family, we didn't ask for a single cent in bride price. On top of that, we gave her a car as part of her dowry and 300,000 yuan in cash. When she came back to visit, she didn't have a penny to her name. Her entire dowry was used to prop up your family. Lu Ming, what did you promise when you married my daughter? You said you would take care of her for a lifetime, never letting her suffer the slightest grievance. Do you think our family is easy to bully, that Zhao Qing has no backing and no one to stand up for her? Lu Ming had not been unaware of these things before. It was only when someone pointed it out that he felt ashamed. My parents escorted me away and stayed with me at the hotel for 2 days, taking me out to relax and unwind. They had to return home early due to work obligations. I still need to stay at the hotel for a while, waiting for the 1-month divorce cooling off period to end. With my parents' support, I feel a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I feel like I've gone back to my carefree 20s. I'd been doing on-site research on various industries, planning to start a small business after receiving the 5% shares from Lu Ming. Fortunately, I'm still young, and everything is still possible to start over. In the evening, I couldn't sleep and picked up my phone to unbind the home surveillance. Unexpectedly, I saw Qin Huan. She wore a black business suit that accentuated the curves of her youthful figure. At that moment, her hair and clothes were in disarray. Lu Ming appeared drunk, slumped against her like a dead weight. She struggled to move Lu Ming onto the sofa. Lu Ming kept muttering, "Thirsty, I'm so thirsty." Qin Huan rummaged through the fridge and only found 2 bottles of milk. Lu Ming spat it out after taking a sip and angrily demanded, "Where's my watermelon juice?" Qin Huan was stunned and said, "Where am I supposed to get watermelon juice for you now? Just drink some milk for now, or I can find you some cold water." Lu Ming frowned and immediately fell silent. Qin Huan suddenly took off her coat, revealing her strap top underneath. I was so disgusted I couldn't bear to look. Immediately after, Qin Huan collapsed softly into Lu Ming's arms. "Lu Ming, since you're getting divorced, when are you going to marry me and take me home?" Lu Ming vomited all over the place as soon as she pressed down on him. The foul smell spread instantly. Qin Huan frowned in disgust, trying to pull Lu Ming to the bedroom but was abruptly pushed away. "Who told you I was getting a divorce? I only have one wife, and that's Qin Huan. Get out now, or I'll call the police." Ugh. After a while of tugging, Lu Ming's reluctance was too obvious. Qin Huan could only stomp her foot in frustration and leave. Lu Ming stumbled off the sofa, took a few unsteady steps, and sat down next to the surveillance camera with a potted plant in his arms, still calling out insistently, "Zhao Qing, I want watermelon juice." The only response he got was the mechanical ticking of the clock. "In my opinion, Lu Ming is just spoiled. Every time he came home drunk, I would prepare a freshly squeezed watermelon juice for him, which helps alleviate the taste in his mouth after drinking. All these kindnesses, he never saw them before. Now he pretends to remember the past." What surprised me, though, was that I thought Lu Ming would have rushed to be with Qin Huan right after the divorce. After all, judging by all the signs now, Qin Huan is clearly the exception for him, but Lu Ming's current behavior is what I find hard to understand. I woke up once at 7 in the morning. I turned on the surveillance and saw Lu Ming sitting lost in thought at the empty dining table. Every time he came home drunk at night, I would prepare light porridge and dishes in different ways, placing them on the table before he woke up. This was the first time he woke up to nothing. Lu Ming sat at the table, smoking a cigarette, lost in thought, then went to work wearing the same wrinkled clothes from yesterday. I also received a call from the company's finance department in the afternoon, asking me to handle the property distribution. As soon as I entered the gate, I ran into Qin Huan. She looked at me with undisguised hostility in her eyes. She cornered me in the tea room and spoke with a hint of superiority. "The company always serves blueberry cake for afternoon tea on Wednesdays. Do you know why? Because you like it." I looked up at her, and her face was a picture of undisguised triumph. She really was a fresh graduate. Her cockiness was almost endearing. "Why bother talking to me if you're so confident in your love?" Qin Huan spoke with a touch of pride. "I just want you to recognize your place. Since you're divorced, don't cling on." In Lu Ming's heart, "You're nothing more than a housekeeper. This is about claiming ownership." I smiled. "What about you? What right does a homewrecker like you have to judge me? There are plenty of young and beautiful girls in this world, not just you. Believe me, if I expose your affair, not only will you be out of a job, but it will also damage Lu Ming's company's reputation. When it comes to choosing between your career and his, do you think Lu Ming will pick you? Be smart and don't mess with me. I really don't know what you're so arrogant about as a third wheel. If you dare to provoke me again, I'll make sure everyone knows about the despicable things you and that scumbag have done." "Oh, right. And then there's the video of you trying to seduce Lu Ming that night." I glanced at Qin Huan's livid face, then shouldered past her and walked out of the break room. I had just finished talking with the finance department when Lu Ming hurried into the office. It looked like he had just wrapped up a meeting with a client. It must have been a brain malfunction, but he actually wanted to put his arm around my shoulder. Seeing me dodge, a flicker of hurt flashed in his eyes, yet he still looked at me with eager anticipation. "Zhao Qing, I know I was wrong. Can we start over? I promise my mom won't interfere in my life anymore, and I'll fire Qin Huan." Qin Huan, who had just arrived, overheard this and ran off with red eyes. Lu Ming didn't even glance at her. I sneered. "Now that the child is dead, you're offering milk. Don't you really think everyone loves this prodigal son returning drama? If you need a nanny, go to the job market. Don't bother me." Lu Ming seemed very uncomfortable with my straightforwardness, instinctively wanting to lose his temper, but he managed to hold it in. "Zhao Qing, I've realized my mistakes. What more do you want? How did you become like this?" I looked at him. "Yeah, why?" Lu Ming guiltily turned his head away. For a long time after that, Lu Ming stuck to me like a sticky plaster, even going so far as to pull off the stunt of delivering flowers on a rainy day. He was drenched to the bone, and I walked downstairs with an umbrella. Lu Ming's eyes lit up with joy. "Zhao Qing, I knew you cared about me." I took the flowers from him, threw them to the ground, and laughed behind my hand. Lu Ming, you look just like a dog right now. The expression on his face was a sight to behold. People are inherently selfish. They instinctively choose what benefits them most. It's not that he couldn't see it. Qin Huan only loved his money back then. With me playing the perfect wife and mother at home, he felt free to chase that first love feeling with Qin Huan now. With no one around to dote on him and cater to his every need, it's only natural he feels out of sorts. Lu Ming's one true love has always been himself. After that, no matter how much Lu Ming pestered me, I ignored him. I blocked him on everything, only keeping his phone number. It wasn't out of nostalgia, but to text him a month later, telling him to come to the Civil Affairs Bureau to pick up the divorce certificate. Lu Ming still wanted to salvage things. I threatened him with a smile. If you keep harassing me, I won't hesitate to post the whole story about the three of us online. Let everyone have their say. Let's see if anyone will still want to do business with your precious company then. He fell silent, the light in his eyes gradually fading away. After receiving the property distribution, I returned home to live with my parents and opened a dessert shop I loved. Life was simple yet warm and cozy. I heard news about Lu Ming again a year later. From a mutual friend, word has it that after being rejected, Qin Huan flew into a rage and leaked confidential documents related to a major company contract. This caused Lu Ming to suffer significant financial losses and plunged the company into a serious crisis. Showing no regard for their past relationship, Lu Ming had Qin Huan sent to prison. Lu Ming didn't fare much better himself. With its funding chain broken, the company declared bankruptcy and was acquired by a larger corporation. He went from being the general manager to a department head with no real authority. Mrs. Lu pressured Lu Ming into blind dates every day, which infuriated him so much that he refused to go home and drowned his sorrows in drink after work. With her son no longer the success he once was, Mrs. Lu let the maid go and became a proper housewife, stooping to do the housework herself every day. Hearing this, I couldn't quite put my finger on how I felt. At first, I thought they deserved such an ending, but at night, I couldn't help but feel a bit wistful. Life truly is a cycle of fortune and misfortune. In the end, it just proves what Lu Ming said: people must take responsibility.